Come, let us explore the second verse of the Great Potentiality, a Dzogchen classic. This text was composed many centuries ago by Prahe Vajra of the Swat Valley. So, here's my intention, that we chant this for 4 sets of 3 repetitions each, and that after each set of 3 repetitions, I offer you a bit of an explanation. As there is no desire or striving, there is nothing to be attained. The state of reality itself is spontaneously self-perfected and free from activity. In the pure field of reality, concepts and analysis are non-dual. So how could this dimension be conditioned by the behavior of some foolish people and the wrong views? As there is no desire or striving, there is nothing to be attained. The state of reality itself is spontaneously self-perfected and free from activity. In the pure field of reality, concepts and analysis are non-dual. So how could this dimension be conditioned by the behavior of some foolish people and the wrong views? As there is no desire or striving, there is nothing to be attained. The state of reality itself is spontaneously self-perfected and free from activity. In the pure field of reality, concepts and analysis are non-dual. So how could this dimension be conditioned by the behavior of some foolish people and the wrong views? And now an explanation. As there is no desire or striving, there is nothing to be attained. Although there are many nicknames for enlightenment, my favorite is nothing special. What if enlightenment was nothing more than the mastery of the Buddha's Eightfold Path? And what if the key to mastering the Eightfold Path was simply the regular practice of mindfulness and meditation that causes us to automatically notice change, choose kindness, and go with the flow? Having laid the groundwork, let's take a second look at that first couplet. As there is no desire or striving, there is nothing to be attained. So it's not our job to push away self-talk and pull towards ourselves silence. It's not our job to push away painful sensations or painful emotions or painful intentions or the like. It's our job to notice and relax. Let's take a deeper look at that. Mindfulness correlates to our inhalation. Meditation correlates to our exhalation. Every time we inhale, we have evolved to automatically cooperate with the sympathetic nervous system ensconced in the middle third of our spinal cord. This bad boy has evolved to help us to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice mind's antics of perception, emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, and imagination. We do not traverse the path of being rigid, fearful, superstitious, and controlling. We are not traversing the path of being elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. Au contraire, we are traversing the path of being flexible, loving, rational, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. Or in other words, to notice passively, vulnerably, and randomly whatever comes up, whether it is external or internal, physical or mental, pleasurable or painful, interesting or boring, glorious or grotesque. Every time we exhale, we have evolved to automatically access our parasympathetic nervous system, divided between the lower third and the upper third of that same spinal cord. This parasympathetic nervous system has evolved to support our physical relaxation and mental release to such a degree that which we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel less stressful, less permanent, and even less defining. Now, at the risk of sounding redundant, we've already evolved to notice and relax in harmony with our inhalations and our exhalations. Since this is an automatic process, the question is not, will we notice and relax? The question is, will we passively cooperate with this and get out of our own way and let our there's a word for it. There's a fancy word for both the sympathetic and that's it. Do we get out of our own way and allow our autonomic nervous system to do its deal? Or do we actively compete against it, over-focusing and over-analyzing, exhausting our prefrontal cortex, causing ourselves to present with various symptoms of depression, triggering our amygdala, the seat of both anxiety and aggression? Or do we passively cooperate with our autonomic nervous system in such a way as to calm our amygdala and stimulate the anterior cingulate gyrus, which functions as the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy, the root of both compassion and love? There's nothing to attain. The practice of mindfulness and meditation is automatic. All we got to do is cooperate. And I guess I should mention one more thing. So let's go back over it. So I'm going to tap button 9. The most efficient way for us to passively cooperate with both aspects of our autonomic nervous system is for us to silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this each time we feel air enter our nostrils, as well as silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease each time we feel air exit our nostrils. If that's all we do, then we can master the path automatically and effortlessly in as little as 7 days. Let us continue. The state of reality itself is spontaneously self-perfected and free from activity. Whatever we notice, whether it's internal or external, whether we are watching a nation sprint into fascism, or we are noticing turmoil within as we see our neighbors victimized. Whatever we notice is processed automatically by vulnerably and passively and randomly cooperating with our autonomic nervous system in coordination with our breathing. Once again, free from activity. Most of us were raised in societies that figuratively whispered in our ear, "If it's to be, it's up to me." That was my philosophy. It was horribly inefficient. The greatest creative geniuses have entered the zone. Whether they were artists or scientists, writers or diplomats, their greatest genius was expressed by going with the flow. The more we practice mindfulness and meditation, the more we will access the highest love, which is spontaneous and uncontrived. It is centered, not scattered. This spontaneous love is the dynamo driving our centered spontaneity, upon which our choices and utterances and deeds could float like one of the cars in a log flume ride at an amusement park. Let us now, before I begin explaining this bit, let us chant these 3 pages 3 more times. As there is no desire or striving, there is nothing to be attained. The state of reality itself is spontaneously self-perfected and free from activity. In the pure field of reality, concepts and analysis are non-dual. So how could this dimension be conditioned by the behavior of some foolish people in the wrong views? As there is no desire or striving, there is nothing to be attained. The state of reality itself is spontaneously self-perfected and free from activity. In the pure field of reality, concepts and analysis are non-dual. So how could this dimension be conditioned by the behavior of some foolish people and the wrong views? As there is no desire or striving, there is nothing to be attained. The state of reality itself is spontaneously self-perfected and free from activity. In the pure field of reality, concepts and analysis are non-dual. So how could this dimension be conditioned by the behavior of some foolish people and the wrong views? I'd like to explain this triplet, if I may. There is the field of reality and the pure field of reality. As we breathe in, we perceive all manner of things. Sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like, including emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. As we relax into our exhalation, that which we noticed during our previous inhalation could feel as if it was as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Now, any good English teacher will remind us that a simile is only as useful as it is relatable. Therefore, we must ask the question, what? What is a real-world example of a non-graspable, vast, empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although could look tantalizing to the eye, could feel non-graspable to our hand? This is not something that needs to be understood. This is not something that needs to be believed. It is a natural process. When we breathe in, we notice things. When we breathe out, we release things. If not perfectly, then partially. There are many, so Sturgeon's Law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks, including meditation teachers. Many of them convince their students that thinking during meditation is bad. And then these people exhaust themselves trying to repress their thoughts, which is always a mistake. Many Tibetan masters explain it this way. Sometimes the mind is at rest. Sometimes the mind is at play. Either way, it is still the mind. It is not our job to dictate when the mind rests and when the mind plays. Our job is simply to notice and relax. So, ideas can pop into our head. Some wise, some foolish, some kind, some cruel. Some interesting, some boring, some glorious, some grotesque. And sometimes we can analyze those ideas or memories or emotions or intentions or imaginings. And so if we were very, very clever and perhaps we studied English in junior high, we would be told that this is the object and this is the subject. The funny thing is, although as we breathe in, the mind that analyzes the concepts that seem to pass through it seem like two very, very different things. As we relax into our exhalation, both the object and the subject taste of the same flavor of non-graspability. There are many teachers who implore their students not to think, But there are also many teachers who implore their students to think, and they promise that they can think their way to nirvana. And so whether we're trying to repress analysis or whether we're trying to harness analysis, every time we relax into our exhalation, analysis and its objects feel less tantalizing, less permanent, less defining, less graspable, and more reminiscent of the illusion of the infinite azure sky. Before we explore the third page of this text, let's chant another 3 repetitions. As there is no desire or striving, there is nothing to be attained. The state of reality itself is spontaneously self-perfected and free from activity. In the pure field of reality, concepts and analysis are non-dual. So how could this dimension be conditioned by the behavior of some foolish people and the wrong views? As there is no desire or striving, there is nothing to be attained. The state of reality itself is spontaneously self-perfected and free from activity. In the pure field of reality, concepts and analysis are non-dual. So how could this dimension be conditioned by the behavior of some foolish people and the wrong views? As there is no desire or striving, there is nothing to be attained. The state of reality itself is spontaneously self-perfected and free from activity. In the pure field of reality, concepts and analysis are non-dual. So how could this dimension be conditioned by the behavior of some foolish people and the wrong views? Put 2 humans together, and very often you'll get 3 or more opinions. It is not unusual for people to disagree. And whether people are correct, incorrect, or just see things different, it's not our job to coerce them to see things our way. Many fine spiritual traditions implore their adherents not to be manipulative, or coercive, or overbearing. This is important. This is very important. 50% of the Buddha's Eightfold Path pertains to loving kindness, kindness of intention, kindness of communication, kindness of conduct, and kindness of commerce, or in other words, kindness of mind, kindness of the mental, kindness of the interpersonal, kindness of the physical, and kindness of the circumstantial. There's nothing kind about being a bully. I'm very grateful that there are people in universities who have studied philosophy and who remind us of logical fallacies and cognitive biases and ethical ways to debate. Because just as there are physical bullies, there are verbal bullies who, in the name of debate, use logical fallacies, use cognitive biases, break the rules of debate, and just verbally beat people up. We don't have to do that. That's not our job. If you read the book of the Acts of the Apostles in the Christian New Testament, we learn of Paul the Apostle, who had many debates with many people in many places. But that was not a common practice amongst the other apostles. That was not a common practice for the Buddha. That was not a common practice for Lao Tzu. That was not a common practice for Prahevajra. We don't have to bend others to our will. We don't have to convince others that we're right on spiritual issues, and we do not have to convince others that we're right on political issues. In fact, that's the least effective way of changing someone's opinion. Now, we could say there are foolish people, and they do bad things. They do bad things to other humans. They do bad things to objects that humans like. They do bad things to places that humans like. Yes, they do. So we have a response to that. We can respond to that from a place of contrivance. We can respond to that from a place of scatteredness. Those are two extremes. We can find the middle ground and respond to these things from a place of love-centered spontaneity. If love's-centered spontaneity sounds good to you, then allow me to remind you of what you probably already suspect, that the fount or the font of love's centered spontaneity is a regular practice of mindfulness and meditation. While we perform our fourth and final set of 3 repetitions of this recitation, if you have any questions about Buddhist meditation or philosophy, I invite you to type your question in great detail in the chat window. As there is no desire or striving, there is nothing to be attained. The state of reality itself is spontaneously self-perfected and free from activity. In the pure field of reality, concepts and analysis are non-dual. So how could this dimension be conditioned by the behavior of some foolish people and the wrong views? As there is no desire or striving, there is nothing to be attained. The state of reality itself is spontaneously self-perfected and free from activity. Quick pause. So we're not saying desire or striving don't exist. This is figurative. Whatever desire, so as we relax into our exhalation, whatever desire or striving we noticed during our previous inhalation could feel less tantalizing, less permanent, and less defining. Let's continue. In the pure field of reality, concepts and analysis are non-dual. So how could this dimension be conditioned by the behavior of some foolish people and the wrong views? As there is no desire or striving, there is nothing to be attained. The state of reality itself is spontaneously self-perfected and free from activity. In the pure field of reality, concepts and analysis are non-dual. So how can this dimension be conditioned by the behavior of some foolish people and the wrong views? Excuse me. Having completed our opening lesson, we can now shift gears. It is Ahsoka Tano Thursday evening. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is the Dzogchen Semde Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I have harnessed my autistic special interests as well as my ADHD hyperfocus to spend about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that I can become your personal, nerdy, neurodivergent guide to nirvana. Welcome, my friends, to meditate like a Jedi. Oopsie. Which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. For the remainder of this evening's practice, we could play with the latest iteration of very easy meditation practice text, or sadhana, if you're nasty. Quick review. The essence of mindfulness is to silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this each time we feel air enter our nostrils. The essence of meditation is to silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease each time we feel air exit our nostrils. We could do this while lying down. I could do this while going for a walk around the block. We could do this while sitting as sustainably as we can. Let us practice right now. And remember, the moment you have a specific question about Buddhist philosophy or meditation, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 11 hours, I would very much like to return to tomorrow's morning meditation class, as well as group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.